Hi, this is Jacqueline here with the GROW program. Thanks for tuning in. I want to let this GROW movement, yes, it's new. The podcast is doing wonderfully. And I thank all of the people who are, for your support and tuning in, downloading everything. This podcast is not going to be, you won't hear any advertisement and sponsorship. You won't hear that on here because I have a word to get out from the ancestors. So that's not what this is about. It's not about me making money. It's not about building this podcast and putting sponsors on here. And then you got to hear a bunch of a mess that's going to deter you from the message. That's why the episodes are short. I try not to keep no more than about 10 minutes long. And some of them may stretch on a little bit, about 15 minutes, but it's a word that you need to get. And it's coming from the ancestors. It's not really coming from me. It's coming through me, from them. And they trying to get this word out. So I'm pushing these episodes. So that's why, sometimes you may hear me mention YouTube because I was on YouTube pushing the episodes, I did over 83 videos in 3 weeks time. So a lot of that I transferred over, sometimes I'm going to start dating every episode. So you'll know. And I put YT at the bottom. This is a new episode here. And the last one's a new episode. If it don't have YT, that don't mean that means it was not YouTube. If it's just the date, then you know what I mean. Okay. So I want to get on something here real quick. I want to talk about, this message. I be meditating on this legend, this queen. I be meditating on her a lot. I think about her a whole lot. I mean, I talk about a message called Daunting and Daunted. But, I have to think about this woman because this woman is incredible. I'm thinking about Harriet Tubman, and can you just think for a minute? I just want you to put yourself in her shoes for a minute. And think about the task that she had in front of her. Not only was she taking these people hundreds and hundreds of miles and miles away, up north, different states, and finding her way to get there and not getting caught, and they said, well, how did she make it? Well, a lot of people say she was guided by the stars and the moon. That's a lie. She was guided by God and the ancestors, to find her way, to come back and get her family, to come back and get others. And she didn't lose no passengers. Everybody stayed on that train. And me and my trip over to the Underground Railroad and going down, part of the Underground Railroad where the mine is at, over there at the cave, Merrimack Cave. If you get a chance, you can come over there and see it. That cave goes miles and miles and miles. We wasn't able to walk miles, but we went down there and it's magnificent. You need to see it, and so just imagine that. It's pitch black dark. Yeah, she got a lantern and they trying to get through, trying to get the freedom. That's all they want. They want freedom. They want to be free. The ancestors were kidnapped and brought over here against their will, to build up this country, to build up wherever you at, to wherever they needed slave labor. They needed it to build up. And then after it got built up, you got Make America Great Again. Well, what does that mean? What does that mean for us? What's Make America Great Again? When was America ever great? I really would like to ask Donald Trump that question. What does that mean? How you going to make it great? When was it great? And I'd like to ask that man, that African-American man who was sailing in the crowd, crowd surfing. I want to ask him, why you out there crowd surfing? What does Make America Great Again mean to you? What are you crowd surfing for? What does that mean? I want to know what's going on because I think I'm in touch with the ancestors. They tell me don't worry about Donald Trump. What are you doing? Don't worry about him. But I am curious what he doing. But I feel like he probably getting ready to start a dictatorship. That's why I think he's probably getting ready to go on and some stuff getting ready to overturn if he can get away with it. But see, what I don't understand is I've had better checks and balances at my worst job. How was he unable to uncheck all these different checks and balances and everything all right? They report in the news, but everything all right. So, now this is what we got to deal with. So we still got to work with these people. You still have to work. So just because he somebody you don't like, he in the highest office in the land, you got to work with him. He there. He's supposed to represent all the people. So what if some people who think he represent just them? That's not the case. We all here. He represent us all. And I truly believe that he represent us all. But he wanna try to pacify folks and make folks think that he doing this and doing that when he ain't. He really ain't, So that's why I ask people just educate themselves, But I think with the coronavirus, it's stuff is really messed up now. The whole economy is messed up. You can't take things as a joke. If somebody say I'm gonna kill you, you can't sit there and say that's a joke. If somebody say I'm gonna unleash something on you that's gonna wipe out a whole bunch of people, you can't sit there and say they joking. You have to take stuff serious. That's why when I'm telling you what I'm telling you here, you have to take this message serious. This is not a joke. This ain't something I sat over here and thought of. Well, I'm getting ready to start a podcast, tell folks a bunch of different things, see if they believe it. This is the truth. I'm not sitting up here making no joke. I wouldn't even be putting my face and stuff on here talking like this, And so I've been doing my research, meditating, and talking to folks and asking people different questions and talking to my dad. My dad, he denounced Christianity over 20 years ago, and I talked to him and consult with him, but I have to take his with a little grain of salt because he got a little anger on there. So, I have to take that anger off of there. I have to replace that with love because we have to forgive. I try to tell my dad, we in a different day and age now. We have to forgive. We have to let go of that past and try to move forward. So you can't move forward if you're still holding on to grudge. That's what I'm trying to tell you, people. You can't move forward if you're still holding on to the past. You can't grow if you want to go take a drink. You can't grow if you still want to go out there and shoot your brother. You can't grow if you want to take that hit of crack. You can't grow if you still hold on to grudges. You can't grow if you can't forgive and you can't forgive yourself. You got to forgive. You got to forgive. You got to change your mindset, the way you think about yourself, the way you think about your brother, the way you think about your children, the way you think about the world, the way you think about the white man. Yeah, that's what they did, but we got to get over that. We got to move past that. I done told you that the ancestors going to deal with that. So now forgive them. Let go of that. That ain't your fight. That's their fight. That's what they got to deal with. We got to deal with the here and now, what we dealing with. So I'm telling you how to grow and come out of oppression, and don't worry about what happened in the past. Don't worry about what they said about you. Don't worry about what they say you ain't gonna be. Don't worry about what you did yesterday or what you did last night. Today is a new day. The Lord done woke you up. You done heard this message. Now it's time to grow. Get over your oppression. Get over yourself. Get over your past and look forward to your future. Let's grow.